Good day, everyone. Me and my group mates were going to discuss psychoanalytic criticism. What is psychoanalytic criticism? Psychoanalytic criticism is a critical approach to literature that employs psychological theories to examine aspects of a literary work as a way to better understand both the author's mind and the characters, themes, and other elements of the text. So this approach draws on theories and concepts from psychology, such as psychoanalysis and behavioral psychology, to analyze literary works. So it often focuses in the unconscious mind and its influence on behavior and thought. So like motivations, desires, and conflicts of the characters, and also how they are reflected in the structure and themes of the work. So psychoanalytic criticism also seeks to uncover hidden meanings and motivations in text. So the key feature in psychoanalytic criticism is Sigmund Freud. So he is an Austrian neurologist and psychoanalyst. So developed theories of the unconscious mind, dreams, and psychosexual development. So in Sigmund Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams in 1900s, it is considered the beginning of psychoanalytic criticism. So Freud's analysis of Gradiva by Wilhelm Jensen in 1907 is considered the first work to systematically study literature from a psychoanalytic perspective.
After the brief introduction of psychoanalytic criticism rooted in the theories of Sigmund Freud, which explores the psychological depths of literary texts, I have here Freudian concepts to start with the unconscious. This is the part of the mind that lies outside of conscious awareness, containing repressed thoughts, desires, and memories. A little background: Freud proposed that a significant portion of our mental processes occurs outside of conscious awareness. This unconscious mind contains repressed thoughts that can influence our behavior and emotions. So Freud likened the mind to an iceberg, with the conscious mind being the visible tip and much larger unconscious mind submerged beneath. He believed that dreams, slips of the tongue or Freudian slips, and neurotic symptoms offer glimpses into the unconscious. An example of this is Shakespeare's Hamlet. Hamlet's obsessive behavior and delayed revenge can be interpreted as manifestations of his unconscious desires and conflicts. His dreams, if explored, could provide insights into his repressed feelings of anger, grief, and a desire for revenge. Next is the id, ego, and superego. Id is the impulsive, pleasure-seeking part of the psyche, whereas ego, the rational decision-making part of the psyche, and superego, the moral conscience, often internalized from societal rules and parental expectations. Freud's structural theory of personality posits that the mind is composed of these three interacting components. So si id, it operates on the pleasure principle. Halimbawa, it seeks immediate gratification of desires without regard for consequences. It is basically driven by basic instincts like hunger, thirst, and sex. Ego, on the other hand, operates on the reality principle, balancing the demands of the id and superego. It mediates between the impulsive desires of the id and the moral constraints of the superego. And lastly, superego represents the internalized and moral standards, ideals acquired from parents and society. It strives for perfection, can lead to feelings of guilt and shame. An example of this is Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. So the narrator's obsessive behavior and the eventual confession can be seen as a conflict between the id, or the desire to kill the old man, and the superego, which is the moral guilt, and the ego, however, fails to mediate effectively between these two factors or forces. And our last concept would be the Oedipus complex or Electra complex, a child's unconscious sexual desire for the opposite sex parent. A detailed explanation of this is actually a controversial theory that suggests that young children can develop unconscious sexual desires for the opposite sex parent and feelings of jealousy and hostility towards the same sex parent. So Freud believed that boys experience Oedipus complex involving desire for their mothers and rivalry with their fathers and vice versa. Like the girls, on the other hand, experience Electra complex, which is less well defined and involves similar dynamics. So the successful resolution of these complexes is crucial for healthy psychological development. An example is Sophocles' Oedipus Rex. Oedipus unknowingly fulfills the prophecy of killing his father and marrying his mother, demonstrating the powerful influence of the Oedipus complex. Additionally, we have here the dream analysis. So, dream analysis, interpretation of dreams, or uncover unconscious desires and fears. To further explain this, Freud viewed dreams as a window into the unconscious mind. He believed that dreams are symbolic representations of repressed desires and wishes. It involves interpreting the manifest content or apparent story of the dream to uncover the latent content or the underlying meaning. So, see Freud, he identified various dream symbols such as common objects and situations that he believed represented specific unconscious wishes or fears. And
Good day, everyone. I am Nicole Antonio, and I will be talking about applying psychoanalytic criticism to literature. In applying psychoanalytic criticism, one of the things to do is a character analysis or analyzing a character, obviously. The reader may uncover hidden motivations or desires of a particular character, which may provide deep insight and explanation behind his or her actions in a story. And another one is analyze dreams and fantasies for symbolic meaning. So oftentimes, dreams and fantasies depicted in a story contain a hidden and deeper meaning beyond the literal one. It's not just written there literally. And as people would say, dreams are the manifestations of one's deepest desires and feelings. Sigmund Freud also thought of dreams as the ultimate insight or glimpse into an individual's unconscious mind. And to understand a character better, an analysis of their dreams or fantasies must also be included. Lastly, we can explore unresolved conflicts and traumas. Characters' unresolved conflicts and traumas are often assumed to be the root cause or the reason for their psychological issues and abnormal behavior. For example, complex characters or characters with anger issues. So, theory suggests that childhood experiences, particularly those that involve harsh trauma, can lead to inner conflict. And as we all know, our childhood experiences shape who we are as we grow up. So this will also explain the behavior of a characters in a story. Another thing we will do in applying psychoanalytic criticism to literature is analyzing the symbolism and imagery. First, we will identify recurring symbols and their potential unconscious meaning. So, in psychologically inclined stories, there are symbols that appear repeatedly. For example, in a story, the tomb or a coffin is it appears repeatedly in a story, so it may symbolize or foreshadow a character's death in the end. So that's symbolism right there. These symbols have meanings, whether it is intended by the author or not. They're not just there randomly or unintentionally. They have meanings. These symbols really have meanings, and these meaningful symbols are often relevant in interpreting the narrative or the story. Second, we will analyze the use of metaphor and allegory. Metaphors and allegories are both figurative devices or literary devices writers can use to make comparison or illustrate symbol in their writing. For example, the phrase time is money is a metaphor because time is literally not money because time is time and money is money, but it means that time is precious, time is gold, and just like money, it must not be wasted. And an example of an allegory is the Greek mythology character Narcissus. His story is a tale of practically narcissism. So he is an allegory or a personification or representation of self absorption or too much self love. So that's an allegory. And we will also consider the symbolic significance of objects, colors, and settings. So as it happens, colors, objects, and settings in a story are not also just there randomly put by the author. They are there intentionally and they mean something. So in using psychoanalytic approach to literature, the colors, the objects, and the settings in a story are easy to overlook, but they have symbolic significance as well. For example, the color white. They may symbolize innocence and purity. Or, for example, the setting in a story is sunrise. The sunrise could mean that it has a new beginning, or it also means hope. Another thing we should consider in applying psychoanalytic criticism to literature is the authorial intent or the intent of the author. First, we can explore the author's own psychological makeup and experiences. So it's interesting, no, because it's not just the characters whom we analyze, but also the author. So, in psychoanalytic criticism, the character's mind, behavior, and actions are not the only ones we analyze. We are not limited to the character, but we also explore the author's mind and experiences. This is because the author's life likely might have influenced the psychological makeup of the characters he or she wrote in the story and also the events of the story. Sometimes the characters are even inspired by the authors themselves. The characters might be based on the author themselves. For instance, characters who are abused in a story might have reflected the life of the author. So the author maybe was abused in his or her childhood, and the character also happened to experience that in the story. Basically, a self-insert of the author. So another one is we will analyze the author's unconscious motivations for writing the text or the story. So the same goes for the author's motivations in writing the text. Some stories are written by authors with an intention or agenda in mind. It could be to raise awareness on a certain social issue, to retell history, or to merely entertain.
So, right now we'll be tackling about the strengths and weaknesses of psychoanalytic criticism. So the first strength of psychoanalytic criticism is it provides a deeper meaning, a deeper understanding of characters and themes. So, for example, when we are having a dream, we somehow want to know the meaning of our dreams. So through psychoanalytic criticism, we can know the meaning of our dreams. We can have a depth understanding of what is the dream, what is the dream trying to tell us about, and we can have a deeper knowledge about the characters and themes, specifically focusing on the unconscious mind. And second is it can reveal hidden meanings and motivations. So just like what I said, psychoanalytic criticism, it focuses on the unconscious mind. So through that, in our dreams, we can, through psychoanalytic criticism, we can um, have a deeper understanding, and because of that, we can reveal, or it can reveal, hidden meanings and hidden desires or whatsoever that is hidden, it can reveal it. So the third strand or the last strand, or it has a lot of strands, but in the PPT, the last strand is it offers a new perspective on literary works. So next is the weaknesses. The first weakness is it can be subjective and speculative. So of course, psychoanalytic criticism can be subjective because it can be based on the personal feelings or your personal feelings. Because um, in for example, when your friend asks you to interpret her dreams, so based on your opinion, you interpret her dreams. So that, and psychoanalytic can also be speculative because
Um, Even though you gave your opinion to your friend to interpret her dreams, you cannot say that that is the true interpretation or it is the factual interpretation of the dream. So the next one is it may overemphasize sexual and aggressive impulses. So it may focus on more on the sexual and the aggressive aspect. You may in interpreting the dreams, you may have impulsive thoughts about the dream. You may give aggressive opinions, impulse opinions. And the last weakness is it can be difficult to apply to all texts. Of course, the psychoanalytic criticism can't be applied to all the types of texts. It can only be applied to the certain texts that is really suited for the criticism. So, conclusion: psychoanalytic criticism offers a valuable tool for literary analysis. So, this kind of criticism is really an important tool for analyzing literary works. Next is by exploring the unconscious mind, we can gain a deeper understanding of human behavior and the motivations behind literary works. Of course, psychoanalytic criticism is focusing on discovering the unconscious mind. So, because of that, we can gain a lot of knowledge and understandings about the human mind, the human behavior, and the motivations, of course, behind literary works. So the last one is, however, it is important to use this approach with caution and to consider its limitations. So, of course, psychoanalytic criticism is also can be used in interpreting dreams. So, in interpreting dreams, we need to be more careful because we may be giving wrong information and you may be giving the person misconception. So, it is really important if you will use psychoanalytic criticism, you will use it with careful and with caution, and you have to know its limitations as a approach and as a criticism. And that's all, and that concludes our report. That's all. Thank you and um, goodbye. Yes.